Hello, my name is Robbie, and I am the entree musician, and so are you. I want to take a few minutes of your time and discuss being an artist, but not just any artist, an authentic artist. Many of us are introduced to music by other musicians, by someone we heard on the radio, maybe someone in our family who was a musician, but sometimes we make the mistake of holding on to those coattails of the ones who introduced us and never really develop into that authentic artist we are. I want to make a few points to share with you and better define an authentic artist. Now, I remember seeing on Instagram a reel, I believe, of Quincy Jones, who was told by a friend of his, your music will be no more or less than you are a human being. Wow. Let me repeat that. Your music will be no more or less than you are a human being. So my first point I want to make is who you are as a person is who you are as an artist. One of the first things we recognize when we see our favorite artists is how effortlessly their performance is. The notes seem to come with ease as they sing and as they play, causing us to lose all sense of time. The other thing is that we don't want the performance to end. When the record is finished, we come back another day and experience it all over again. And somehow the interpretation of that song, that voice, that instrument touches us in a way that we cannot describe. As much as I wanted to, I could never be Stevie Wonder. I remember growing up sitting in front of the record player, reading the liner notes to the album covers that I listened to. But one of my favorite albums was Talking Books. I could tell you every instrument that Stevie played. I could tell you every studio musician. I could tell you who engineered. I could tell you who wrote the songs. I could tell you every little detail in creating that album. But no matter how much I wanted to sing, write, and play like Stevie Wonder, that wasn't going to happen. Because who I was as a person is who I am as an artist. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, and in Washington, D.C. I never knew that I would end up becoming the artist that I am today. A little bit about me. I've been playing and singing for years. Doesn't matter how long, but I've been playing and singing for years. I had the opportunity back in 1990 to record an album with an international record company. I had a release under a pseudonym of Robbie Mychals. Don't tell nobody. But it got me on Billboard. It got me to the opportunity to travel across the United States. I traveled overseas several times. And I also got the opportunity to perform with a lot of major artists like Keith Sweat, Glenn Jones, back in that time, MC Hammer, also with Patti LaBelle and the gospel artist Richard Smallwood, just to name a few. I mean, I got to sing on the stage with a lot of people who I was a fan of. But as much as I sat and listened to those guys and wanted to be them, I couldn't. because who you are as a person is who you are as an artist. I never took lessons. I learned how to sing by listening to all of the records that my family had and listening to the radio. But for some reason, I took to playing drums. That was my first instrument. I used to bang on every piece of furniture in the house. I would take apart the wooden clothes hangers and use them as drumsticks. I would drive my parents crazy. In some instances, I broke a few things, but that was my experience of being a musician. I learned how to sing in the church choir. It was just something that I could do. I just had what they consider that gift. Now, my mom would tell you the story of how difficult it was for her to punish me because go to your room was not an option. Because me going to my room was simply going to music class. I sat and listened to records, listened to the radio, learned and experienced every artist there was. Back in that time, Washington, D.C. had a very eclectic, a broad span of music, of radio stations. And you could hear everything and everybody on the radio. So I spend most of my days sitting on the side of my bed, listening and playing and banging and singing along with the radio. Now, that's just my personality. That's just who I was. I was comfortable with being by myself. I was comfortable with being in my room in that situation. In fact, when the pandemic hit, it was heaven. I had no problem being in the house by myself or with my family because if I didn't have anywhere to go, I was going to play and practice and sing whatever I could create. Now, the benefit of that experience was that I learned about myself. I became familiar with my strengths and my weaknesses. There are things that I can do well, and there are things that would benefit me from collaboration. This comes from trying and, here's that word, failing. As a singer, I know my range. I am not a soprano, and I'm not a baritone. As a drummer, I know that I am not a like a hardcore jazz swing drummer. I'm more of a pocket player. As a piano player, I'm not a piano player. I can get my chords out, I can figure out and get ideas, but I'm not necessarily a piano player. So, as a singer, my intonation is unique to my experiences. There's a way only you can articulate a certain phrase. So, be yourself. Recognize your strengths and your weaknesses. There's a song that I used to listen to by Graham Central Station. Simply says, release yourself. Let yourself go. That's what I'm talking about. Be yourself. Who you are as a person is who you are as an artist. Now, another point I want to make is this. Commit to growth. There's two parts to this. So my first part is this. As a musician, We have to commit to exploring different styles of music. Listen to as much music as you can. Here's something I figured out. There's only 12 notes on a piano. That's 7 octaves on an 88 key piano. Here's the thing. Gospel music, jazz music, R&B music, pop music, rock music, country music, and even classical uses those same 12 notes that are repeated 7 times to create a song. As a musician, we have 12 notes to make our point. As a singer, we have 12 notes to build that emotion. So develop your palette and create different textures of sound. Challenge yourself to hear without looking and look without hearing. So here's what I mean by that. Hear without looking. Take a moment and close your eyes and listen to a record. You probably will discover something new about that record that you never heard before. Now, look without hearing. Look at the environment that you're in. Experience as you go on a walk, as you're traveling, as you're in class, or wherever you may be. Take a look at everything, every detail in that experience. So, broaden your sense so that your audience can be taken on a journey. The only way to commit to growth is, number 2, take care of yourself. You are an instrument, whether you play piano or whether you play a triangle. The expression starts with you. It comes through you. So take care of yourself. I became a singer. In fact, I became a better singer when I learned how to control my asthma. I learned how to breathe differently, and the importance of exercise helped me to maintain my voice over time. The importance of diet and rest can never be stressed enough. The party is not that important. So commit to growth. So my last point, build a connection, not just an audience, one by one. Build a connection, not just an audience, one by one. There are artists who I am a huge fan of. I will pay all sums, well, maybe not all sums, but I will pay money to go see them. I will rearrange my schedule if I know they're coming on TV or whatever. 7 years ago, about 7 years ago, I had prostate cancer. And I had surgery. And the day of my follow-up appointment, I went to go see Stevie Wonder. Now, against every member of my family who was telling me, it's too soon, you can't go, no, don't do it, you need to rest. I was going to see Stevie Wonder 10 days after major surgery. That's that. I was not concerned with who else was going to be there. because I was going to be there. In the same sense, someone is waiting for you. Someone is waiting for that experience of you. So take all that I've discussed here, build an audience full of connections, one by one. Here's the other part to that, what I would add. Someone wants to hear you. Notice I didn't say 7,000 or 200,000 followers. I said someone. So build a connection, not just an audience. Now, I do mean that, it's a good thing to have an audience. That's important. We got to have people to listen and appreciate what we do. But don't make that the thing. If you only have one person on your Instagram that's following you, build a connection with that one person. Now, if by chance you get two people, build a connection with those two people. There are different ways that we could do it. We could communicate directly with them. With social media is one of those things that, being an authentic artist is accessible. We could shout out people. We could mention them in a lot of different feeds. We could make the point that someone joined as a follower. People appreciate being recognized, but also they appreciate being acknowledged as your fan. So, to be an authentic artist, recognize who you are as a person is who you are as an artist. Commit to growth and build your audience of connections. So I hope some of these things, if not all, will help you out in becoming a better artist. And so in the comments, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them and let me know, because I will follow up and definitely get back with you. So have a great day, and remember, be that authentic artist, because you are an entree musician. Take care.